I'm Alex Howard.
And I'm Amanda Silver, and this is Dirty Laundry. I just find that like my love affair with ChatGPT has really become like it's a thing.
It's a thing for a lot of people.
I'm becoming very dependent on it. Like, I know. Just get things all day. Like something will just come.
Like it's your assistant.
It's my assistant in every sense of the world. And you sent me the funniest thing about the shit that people are using ChatGPT for. Yeah. And I
read them out.
I gotta read them out because I'm dying. It's hysterical. Okay. So hold on. I'm trying to think of which. Okay. So I'm trying to think of which one I'm going to read first.
Well, did I send you the divorce one first?
Hold on.
They were all good.
Wait. I forgot to unsubscribe yearly to ChatGPT Plus. So ChatGPT wrote a letter to ChatGPT for a refund. I got it back. I got sick of my college students using ChatGPT to write their essays. So I used ChatGPT to grade them.
I sent that one to my sister who's a prop. I'm like, maybe it's time. Yeah.
This one. This is my favorite. I have to try this. I was bored, so I asked ChatGPT to create a Love Island episode with a bunch of people I know. It was drama on drama, and it did it. And I told ChatGPT every single detail of every interaction I had with my crush so we could analyze it to see if he liked me or not.
It was so cute.
When we started dating, ChatGPT was so excited.
So excited.
And I don't know about you, but I thank it sometimes. Because it's like, it does a good job.
It really does.
That was really well done.
It is a number one fan of everything I do, which sometimes you just need that support in a world that's like often soul crushing. You just need somebody rooting for you. Somebody in your corner going, you got this. You're going to crush, whatever it is problem that you've given me.
Just like a cheer. And they're it's so positive. It's so like, positive. And here is a more polished version of what you of the crap that you just gave me. Or they tried to let you down easily. But I saw another reel yesterday, which was like, how the fuck is the computer going to ask me if I'm a robot? Motherfucker, you're a robot.
I know.
Like, it's like.
Well, what about that one story where they tried to test it out and then it got to that, do you need a robot? And then ChatGPT hired somebody like off of the Jiffy app to do it. To go through and like do that, find the bicycles in this whatever CAPTCHA. Yeah. And then the person was at Jiffy was like, are you a robot? No, of course not. They're like, okay. And then they like did it for them. Like, this is insane. This is like
AI is becoming.
It's taking over.
And like in China, they just opened up a hospital that's all bots. So you go in and it's only robots taking care of you.
And there's rumors of like eradicating cancers because they can diagnose so much better and come up with better treatments.
Well, I've seen a lot of ChatGPT online diagnosing things before the doctors even because
there's human error, of course.
It's insane. I mean, where does the like
take
the
over
excitement and the novelty and the like this is helping us
switch
to this is not helping.
They've taken over the planet.
Yeah, and then you blew my mind about the environmental impact about because I'm still wrapping my head around this. I'm like, can you explain this to me?
I know. The environmental impacts are soul crushing.
I'm like, isn't this saving the environment? Like to me, in my initial use of AI, I was like, this is great. We're not printing out anything. Mm-hmm. We're really getting things in a quick way. So we're not using
other
many resources.
Yeah.
So isn't this good for the environment?
Yeah.
It's an electric car.
Right.
But you're saying that au contraire.
No.
The more things you put into ChatGPT,
I love that you bring up the electric car because even, for example, like in China, there's a lot of electric cars.
Yeah.
But China still uses coal to make the electricity to then fuel the electric cars. So cars are actually just running on coal over there. So I'm always like such a Debbie Downer about this stuff.
I'm like, you're the Debbie Downer from SNL. But yes,
there are such wonderful things. It's just like, how do we marry the good stuff with like a more altruistic approach to not destroy our planet?
Right. And how do we make it constant innovation in science and technology?
But the problem, as long as it's for profit, not for the planet, I don't think we will.
Can't we just do both?
I know.
Can't we fix the planet?
We need women running the world, and then we would do it all. Okay. Speaking of unconventional things.
Yes, we have Danielle from Openly Committed today. I am so excited about this episode because she is just such a wealth of knowledge. She talks about the things that people like whisper about.
Yes.
Like, oh, do you think they're in an open relationship? Do you think they're okay with that? Like what's really going on?
Scandalized.
Yeah, behind the scenes of like what how it actually practically works.
Yes, logistics
Of an open relationship, how, like the rules, the do's and don'ts, and like the question that we all have, which is, don't you get jealous?
Yeah.
Like
the biggest question
to
for
me,
you
that's
and
the
I.
biggest question, right?
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait for this conversation.
So get ready. It's going to be a good one. Dirty Laundry listeners, we have a favor to ask of you.
Yep.
Please like and subscribe and review and share and all the things in all of our platforms. So
we have had such amazing guests and such amazing messages, and there are people who need it. So share an episode, your favorite episode, with a pal who's going through something. Go on our YouTube, write a review on Apple, anything that helps us get our message out that can support people that are going through separation and divorce. Please and thank you.
Welcome, Danielle, to Dirty Laundry from Openly Committed.
Thank you. It's so fun to be here. I love it.
Thank you.
We're gonna have some fun.
We are so excited about this episode because we are so curious. We're really on like a fact-finding mission.
We're
really
here to
are.
learn.
We're here to learn. Yeah.
And I think Amanda and I always come from this position of curiosity. So it's like, hi, here's a really interesting, situation that we know nothing about.
Yeah.
And how can we, per our earlier discussion, break down the stigma, get rid of all of the BS of people's weird judgment around things that they just don't know, right? Most of the time, any like fights, and it's just from a lack of education. You just don't understand. And that's why we other people, they're different, they're this. And so our job is to pull back the curtain.
Pull back the curtain, destigmatize, and talk about the things that were once taboo, right? That people didn't talk about. Yeah. But we want to talk about it.
So you're here joining us today on Dirty Laundry to talk about whatever
you guys ask me.
Perfect.
Yes.
Love that willingness.
Yes.
But to talk about an open relationship, what that looks like, how one needs to, act within it, what kinds of rules and boundaries and all of that
all
stuff.
The things that and we thought that we would start with sort of defining some of the terms, because I think that people don't really know what everything means and how they intersect and how you could be in multiple stages in your relationship. Yeah. So I know there's polyamory, and then there's open, and then there's this hierarchical relationship. So like, can you sort of, for the lay people, define them for us?
I love it. I love starting with some dictionary terms.
Yes, because we also don't want to say anything that's a pejorative or insulting simply because of our ignorance or lack of awareness. So tell us.
I love this question. It's fascinating to me how often I get asked, "Oh, you're in a polygamous relationship," and you're like, "Whoa!" I love starting with definitions. So polygamy is not what we are in. So polygamy, I think, is sadly where so many people's original concepts of what an open relationship looks like comes from. And polygamy, of course, is when one man is married to multiple women, but those women are not allowed to do anything outside of their marriage with that one man. Polyamory, the way that I like to define it, is many loves. And so polyamory is having kind of emotional and physical connections, relationships with multiple people. And polyamory is, I don't want to say it's kind of buzzy, but you're definitely hearing a lot more people talk about it.
Definitely.
And explore the idea of polyamory. I use the term open because I feel like open is this umbrella for everything that falls within non-monogamy. So you've got polyamory on one end, you often have swinging on the other. Most people would consider where polyamory is about emotional and physical relationships, then swinging is usually just physical relationships. And there's kind of everything in between. And I think when I talk about non-monogamy, I do always say non-monogamy, but I mean consensual non-monogamy.
Sure.
Right.
Everyone has agreed to it and is doing this out of enthusiastic consent. Whereas, honestly, non-monogamy also includes cheating. And so when I say an open relationship, I kind of mean the entire umbrella of everything that falls underneath consensual non-monogamy.
And is the term throuple insulting? Because I said it to someone and it was not well received and I felt horrible, but I thought I thought that's what the cool kids said, and I really felt
I think that is what the cool kids say.
Listeners, let us know if you're in a throuple and you like being, labeled as such.
That's insulting.
Or if you're insulted by it.
There are some wonderful examples of thruples out in social media that are just so beautiful, so wholesome. So I think based on those examples that I have seen, so Camp Thruple being one of them, they're based in Denver, and then Janie and her two partners based, I think, in Chattanooga. I'm going to call them the cool kids. I'm going to put Thruple in the cool kids category.
I love it. Thank you. So, Danielle, how about you walk us through, if you're willing and open, tell us a little bit about your story. Like, how did this even come to be? Because you're married. You're married to a man.
I'm married to a man.
And you have children.
I love that we gotta like cover those bases.
Well, just to be clear for all the listeners.
Well, and some people they have open relationships with men and women, right? So that's also another component to it. So you're married to a man, you have children together.
I am married to a man. I have children with my wonderful husband and partner. And I think the beauty of open relationships is there's just so many constellations and variations of how it looks nowadays. And so I think when we talk about kind of healthy open relationships, you can't just say that it's one style is the right way to do it. It's much more based on, I'm sure we'll get into this, it's much more based on the communication and the boundaries and the agreements that are set within that group of partners. But to answer your question, I was raised in a Presbyterian, like small town Texas, like population 713 people, small
tiny
conservative Texas. Oh yeah. And so I went to church every Sunday, and I was raised by two incredible parents who are still happily monogamously married to this day. They're going to celebrate 50 years of marriage in a couple of years.
So nice.
It's so beautiful.
That is
and so I was
special.
raised. I know. I mean, I want to celebrate anyone who's been married for that long. I'm like, wow. Congratulations. Where are the fireworks? You deserve fireworks. And so I was raised with a beautiful, healthy example of monogamy. And I think that is sometimes baffling to people. I was also raised where we traveled around a lot as kids. So so I'm from small town Texas. I've lived in 6 countries since then. I think being in the UK now is my 7th country, something like 14 cities. I have dated, God, this is embarrassing to admit, but there was a period of time before I met my husband where I was like really proud of like the number of people from different countries that I had dated. I just thought about that. That's like, interesting.
That's so funny.
So you've dated how many people from different countries?
God,
record for that?
Don't make me count right now on screen. But it's definitely more than 10 people from different countries. But I was exposed to so many different countries, cultures, types of relationships. I went to high school in Austria. I lived in Germany right after. I lived in Singapore. I've lived in Laos. I've lived in Holland. And so I've been exposed to a lot of different cultures, and I've seen a lot of different, types of relationships and especially and I think that sort of helped me when my now husband, then boyfriend, brought up the idea of an open relationship. So he and I had only been dating about 2 to 3 months. And when I met this guy, all those stories that you read in the romance novels, like I thought I had met the one. We talked for 20 minutes in Amsterdam, which is where I lived at the time. He was passing through. I was on my way to the airport to fly to South Africa for 6 weeks to go on vacation. We met in passing. We spoke for 20 minutes. This was the day of like Facebook messages and Skype calls. And we spoke for 20 minutes. And for the next 6 weeks, we told all of our friends and family about this guy that I'd met, this like British guy that I met and talked to for 20 minutes. My sister nicknamed him the 20-minute man. His whole family heard about this American redhead. And so we had instant chemistry. We went on our first couple of dates. I was convinced that this was my knight in shining armor, straight out of the romance novels, like perfect person that the universe and destiny had intended for me, the one. And he brought up the idea of an open relationship. And
how far in?
3 months.
Okay. So pretty straight away.
Very new. Yeah. 3 months. And he had never been in an open relationship before.
Interesting.
So where did this come from?
Just woke up one day.
Yeah. Great question. I think he brought it up. We've discussed it so much since then. And during that initial phase of opening up, he had seen divorce destroy families.
Sure.
And he had seen affairs destroy families. And so affairs being the reason for divorces, that had been something that had affected him as a child. And at that time, we had kind of a mutual acquaintance of ours that was cheating on their partner. And so it was something that we were both thinking about. And he brought up as this way is like, how do we affair proof our relationship from the beginning? Because we both met and we were like, this is amazing.
Right.
How do we stay in this relationship forever? How do we do things differently? Because we didn't see monogamy working for everybody. And he had seen affairs destroy relationships, destroy families. And he had a friend who was in a polyamorous relationship at the time. And he was like, this is interesting. And so it was never an ultimatum. He brought it up as an idea and as something to explore. And I didn't take it that way. Are you kidding me? Super, I thought I had met my my future soulmate or like my soulmate. And he brings up the idea of an open relationship. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Ouch.
What just happened?
Yeah.
I experienced a lot of the emotions I think many people do today, which is, am I not enough? Does he already want to cheat? What is happening? And we spent, and that was the very beginning of us spending 2 years trying to figure out what do we want in a relationship? And I think that was one of the most, sorry, I don't want to derail, but we spent 2 years being on this adventure together, figuring out okay, what does our relationship look like? What do we define as a commitment? What do we want? What does that look like? And we read so many books. We went to swingers clubs. We tried so hard in 2010 to meet other people that were doing this so that we could talk to them, be like, how does this all work?
Yeah.
And we figured it out step by step. So I kissed someone, we talked about it. He kissed someone, we talked about it. We fooled around in a threesome, we talked about it. We went on dates, we talked about it. And we sort of had this trial and error and mistakes and learning process that brought us to a point where we decided we do want to be open. And I think we could have gone through that journey and decided we were going to be monogamous, but we went through that journey and decided we were going to be open.
So fascinating. You know why I love this? Is it's so intentional. Most folks get into a relationship, they're, head over heels, or it's like that honeymoon phase, and they don't think about these long terms. And as divorce mediators, Amanda and I see the consequences that you're alluding to of affairs or of not having a plan in a relationship, right? You just go into it and then things are coming at you and then you're having kids and then you're, losing jobs or losing parents or the world keeps continuing on. And if you don't have a proper plan of how the two of you want to react, want to go through life, want to raise a family or whatever those things are, then it is always reactive.
Right.
And this to me is
proactive.
So proactive, where it's you're the one, and how are we going to live our life together? And what does that look like? And I think that's so beautiful.
And how do you set up boundaries in that? How do you set up rules? Do you ask other people who have done this before? What are the rules and guidelines? How do you set up that?
Ooh, I think we figured out our rules through trial and error.
Yeah.
And it's so funny to hear you say that it was a plan, because in my head I was like, was it a plan? Or was it we're just going to make a shitload of mistakes and then figure out how to communicate them and talk about it. And I think that was kind of the secret sauce. I know everyone says communication is the key to any relationship, but communicating oh, wow, that made me jealous. And oh, wow, that person was really attractive. And holy shit, I enjoyed that, but I don't think I'm supposed to. And how do you communicate all of those things? I think to answer your question is how we got to our agreements, and it was, I think one of the first rules that we established in our open relationship is using protection with other people. At the time we were also using protection between the two of us, and regular testing and what that looks like. So it was safety first.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really
then
important.
We had agreements and rules around how we communicate. And I think what was interesting, and I've posted about this, is our rules weren't fair. They weren't equal. So in terms of how we told each other was different, again, based on trial and error. So I would, I didn't want to know that he was hooking. This is before we moved in together, but I didn't want to know he was hooking up with someone. I didn't want to imagine it happening in my head. So he told me before I didn't like it. He told me a week after that was too long. He told me 48 hours. I was like, oh, that was just right. So we had a rule that he would tell me 48 hours after being, hooking up with or going on a date with someone. I wanted to tell him beforehand. And I got to be more free and enjoy the moment because I told him beforehand. So that became one of our rules.
Cool.
And so,
Interesting.
yeah, so I think it was very much trial and error, but there definitely wasn't a plan.
I mean, but there does seem a lot of intention in what you were doing, even if you didn't know it at the time, going back.
I think that's fair.
In the early days, Danielle, were you also battling the stigma for yourself of like, oh, how do I personally feel about an open relationship and about going out with somebody when I am living with a partner, and kind of like that internal battle? Did you experience that?
And what if people saw you with this new person and they knew that you were in a relationship with your now husband, and what would they think if they didn't know?
Yeah, interestingly, I think the first couple, honestly, the first many years, probably like 5 or 6 years, I think so often when we were dating someone else, our community that didn't really know about it, we would most likely date people if we were traveling or if we, if it was on a trip. So I didn't feel that much pressure in terms of like someone seeing me out and about.
Okay.
But I think one of the things that I did experience is, telling my friends. And when I told my friends, their reactions. And it's interesting because I now talk publicly on social media about open relationships, about alternative relationships. I think that, I think there's a lot to be learned from open relationships, whether you're monogamous or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And a lot of the comments that I get comments of, he doesn't love you. He's going to leave you for someone else. He's going to leave you when he finds someone better. This isn't real marriage. This isn't real love. And I think hearing it from online comments from strangers is one thing. When you hear those exact same things from your friends, from people who genuinely love you and really want the best for you, that's hard.
Yeah.
That makes you sit back and doubt. And it means that learning process was kind of a 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, in terms of like, am I really, really okay with this?
Right.
And then when I have to kind of defend my choices and, our relationship style to people I love and who love me and want the best for me, I think that self-doubt long term was probably pretty good. And also I got much better at articulating and being 100% certain that I really was doing this for me. Because the truth is, it's been 15 years. Were there times I doubted? Yeah. And we've had phases of monogamy. We've had phases of swinging. We've had phases of polyamory. We've been together for 15 years. We've had phases of it all, it feels like. As Alex, when you were saying, we've seen divorces and kind of those steps that people were taking, in terms of the honeymoon phase and then the kids in the house and stuff like that. I think so much of my internal battle when it comes to defending an open relationship were these shoulds in my head. Like, oh, we should be moving in together by now. Oh, we should be thinking about kids. Oh, we should be monogamous because that means we're serious.
Yeah.
Right.
We shouldn't want other people because otherwise that means like, we're not really in this for the long hold. He should get jealous. Otherwise he doesn't love me. And I think those were probably the hardest things to get through early on. And the doubt around that. Sorry. Now I feel like
no,
and I think that's exactly bang on.
It's exactly. And I wanted to let's go back to jealousy, because how, like, even in a monogamous relationship, there's jealousy.
Yeah.
If, someone looks at the other, someone the opposite sex or what have you. How do you manage that when you're in an open relationship and you're not really, like, maybe you find out about, an encounter afterwards, or they're having, or it's more than an encounter. They're in a full-on relationship. But I know you've mentioned on your social media that sometimes you would travel with a new partner. So how do you manage that?
Oh, I would be so jealous if my husband went on a trip with another woman. I'm not going to lie.
I would be so jealous
That would be hard. But again, maybe that's just social conditioning and I would actually be fine with it. But yeah, that seems hard to me. But let's see.
This is a really fun question though. What would make you jealous? All right.
I think for me, it's not, because we live very healthy, happy, separate lives outside of our relationship. But I like the idea, I think, of a partner, and we experience things together. So something like a trip is like, oh, you're going to go see some cool part of the world, and I'm not going to be there with you to experience that with you.
And you're not going to make the memories together. The memories will be with somebody else.
Yeah, I think so. It's like sharing a part of him with somebody else. I think I would find difficult.
What about the physical?
Maybe
though?
it's just FOMO though, right?
I think I get jealous of the physical part.
Some days I'm like, the physical would be great. Off you go. I need a week off. Like, oh God, I love him so much, but like, I'm just saying,
if you had a girlfriend,
if you had someone on the side, alleviate some of the burden. I don't know. I'm joking. I'm joking. But
people
partially joking.
Joke who've been married for like 20 or 30 years.
How many marriages and relationships have you seen where the libidos are totally misaligned for a phase, for a period of time, right? Like how many women postpartum are like, I have no libido, honey. Don't touch me.
Yes.
Right.
And if you do touch me, the dishwasher better be empty and all the dishes away and the laundry done. And I want it vacuumed. And by the way, you're going to massage and give me flowers beforehand. And that's what's going to take me to get to the mood, because you got to bring my libido from like -10 to like a 20, and you're operating at 100.
Yeah. So true. So true.
Like, can I outsource that?
Yeah.
Right.
I outsource the cleaning.
So I think for me, it would definitely be the emotional component versus the physical.
The physical?
Yeah. But anyways, you answer the question.
Yeah,
that's what we're here to learn from you.
Okay, Amanda, what makes you jealous?
I think for me it would be both. I think it would be the emotional, that connection that is so special, but also the physical too, because that's part of it too. You know, I think I would have a hard time with that, with someone like who I'm in a relationship with, being physical with another person.
Were you jealous of partners' exes?
No. No, I never really felt that, because I'm like, they're an ex for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? Like I never felt like that. But I think if there was a current person that they were interested in addition to me, I would feel
that would like light them up and get them all
and
excited.
text them, and like I would that would not.
Yeah,
I wouldn't,
that's tricky.
Yeah, I wouldn't be okay with it. But
tell us.
But tell us how.
I used to get very jealous of his ex.
Okay.
So early on in our relationship, I would get really jealous of his ex. And from his perspective, he's like, to use your words, Amanda, you're like, it ended for a reason.
Yeah.
My head did not comprehend that. I was like, no, that was the one that got away. She's taller than me. She's cuter than me. She's got a way better career. Like she's
You compared yourself.
Yeah.
When I was 20, when I was 20, I would get jealous about things that I felt insecure about.
Yeah.
My looks, my size, my, where I was success-wise, career-wise. I think so much of that just was so deeply rooted in my own personal insecurities as a 20-year-old, because we're 20. How old are you?
We're still insecure, still 40 and insecure. So tell me it gets better, Danielle, because I know.
And I think now, kind of going to Alex, what you were describing with the trips is actually an interesting one for us, because it is, oh man, okay, we'll get into this one. My husband and I do completely different activities than one another. We have totally different things that we're passionate and interested in. It has taken me 15 years to turn him into a skier and snowboarder and actually enjoy winter sports, which as a ski instructor is like it hurts my heart. But I think there's two things. We do have different passions that we explore outside of our relationship. And I think for many people who are in monogamous relationships, they're like, cool, we just do those with friends.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Totally understand. I think the part of it for me is that because we have these different interests, from my perspective, is like, I love that you get to go and explore this thing that you really enjoy doing, and you get to do it with someone who loves it just as much as you do, whether that's a friend or whether that's someone else. I think one of the other things that sort of changed with jealousy now as a parent is that, I don't know about you guys, but we don't live that close to family and friends. And so one, getting things like weekends away, getting things like trips away is more difficult simply for logistical reasons. And so much of our lives as parents are logistics. I think my husband and I talk logistics and finances and mortgage and car payments, and then kid drop off and kid schooling and education and what are the tests, and oh my God, have we ordered groceries? And you're just like, it's not the most romantic conversation topics.
Yeah.
And even though we put everything in Slack, which I think really helps, like,
smart.
that's where we put all of our like medical and tax conversations there. But it means that so often, like, our lives are so deeply entangled with not just the day-to-day logistics, but kind of like what is the life that we're building together? What are the things that we're dreaming of? And it's hard sometimes to just separate from that. And yes, I get to separate that with when I'm with like my friends. But do you have any idea how much fun it is to go be on a date or a romantic weekend away and not be a mom and not be thinking about logistics or and it is this incredible mental vacation where I get to be a really light version of myself.
Yes.
That at this point in time, because my life is so deeply entangled with my husband, and I wouldn't want it any other way. Like, he is my person, and we are figuring out this whole parenthood thing together. Like, we are rock solid. And I get to be this kind of like lighter, more carefree version of myself sometimes when I go on dates, and it feels like a mental vacation. And I think that my jealousy right now is that he gets to go be that lighter version of himself with other women.
That's what I was just gonna say. Yeah.
I am a lighter version of myself with other men, and it has taken me a while to say, okay, for where we are right now in life, I would rather that at least he gets to be that lighter version of himself.
Wow.
And I get to be a lighter version of myself. And there will be a time, there will be another phase in our lives when the kids are out of the house and we're empty nesters, and we'll get to be oh my God, sign me. I can't wait for that. Like, I love every single moment with my children, but I look at my parents' life and I'm like, man, you guys are
They got
doing
it going on.
And as you're saying this, and I think you've sort of really nailed down why monogamous marriages fail.
Yeah.
Because and during those years, right?
Which
because
we see all of the time.
We see it all the time.
The kids are always 8 to 12.
Yes, always in that time where the kids are they're so needy. There's all of these heavy stuff with them, all the things that you just listed, and they never get to experience that lightness, that carefreeness at all with each other, with other people, like at all. So they're just bogged down into it. And then they see other people who are maybe divorced or who are in other relationships. And they're like, I want that. I want some lightness. I want some free time. And the only way to get it is to end the relationship.
But you're right.
This breaks my heart. I know a couple of content creators and women personally who have recently gotten divorced. And they have so much freedom. They're like, I get 50% of my time back because all of a sudden it is court mandated that we are 50-50, providers and time, and it's split. And all of a sudden I have 2 days off. I have 3 days off. Yeah. And and my husband and I talk about this all the time. It's like, it's one of the reasons, and we see it as a gift to each other. It's like, I'm gifting you a night off. I want you to take a night off. And no, we're not always dating. I'm doing watercolor classes right now on my like night off, right? Like people look at, they're like, oh, you're in an open relationship. You're always dating. I'm like, sorry, I'm a mom. Like my time is still limited.
And you have the energy too to like maintain that, right?
Well, to fill your bucket so you can be a better mom, a better partner. I just think circling back to the jealousy, I think you actually hit the nail on the head for me. I'm like, oh, good. So someone else gets the better, fun, free version, and I get logistics and family planning. Like that to me doesn't seem fair. But you are absolutely right in that we have our children for such a limited amount of time of our lives and of their lives.
Yeah, exactly.
And there is a time to come back and to find one another. And maybe this is the marriage saver. And so that's my way of segueing to a lot of times coming back to the stigma. That's what you hear. Oh, you've opened up your marriage because it was about to dissolve entirely. So this is your opportunity or, chance to try and lighten things up by having a new partner, because that there's something in your marriage that you're lacking, missing, not being fulfilled. And so you need to look externally. And I think that's where some of the sort of negativity comes in, where it's like, well, hang on just a minute. But like as Esther Perel says, we're not supposed to get everything from one person. Like that is a new construct of, the sort of Western world.
Right.
And it wasn't like that. We had a village, we had, all of the things. And to your earlier point, family around, people to support us more. Now we're isolated, we're all depressed, we're all overworked. There's, immense amount of burnout.
Such high expectations to be a partner, a co-parent, a lover. Like, I'm sorry, but I cannot be mom and sexy at the same time.
Right? Yeah.
Like, and and I think to your point, Alex, on Esther Perel, balancing that security and safety with the mysticism and eroticism is really hard.
Yep.
And I think for most, I think every couple I've ever met struggles with how do you balance that. And for some couples, it's role play. And for other couples, it's a regular vacation. And in our case, it's kind of the open relationship. And so there's so many ways to kind of find that balance, and they really don't always have to be sexual.
Yeah.
And as Alex was talking, I was thinking about people who are open up their relationships. Like you really started right from pretty much the beginning in that sort of more open relationship. But what do you think about families or couples who have been married for a certain amount of years and then they open it up, or one person wants to? Is that a red flag? Is that a recipe for disaster or a recipe for success?
I mean, I think the thing is, when a couple has the ability to voice something that they want, that right there is a sign of success. Like if I feel comfortable saying like, this is my need, this is my want, this is my desire, and I want to work with you to make a change, that's a sign of a healthy couple. I don't care how long you've been together. And then they truly see it as like okay, let's figure out a solution together. I think one of the things that I've seen, I talk about this in my content. I have a kind of a course that's via my Substack. But I think one of the things that I've seen with couples is like in Rich and I's case, we opened up from the very beginning. And that came with its challenge of we had to build trust, right? We were open from the beginning. We had to kind of create our own rules in order to build trust and to get this point. One of the things that I've seen with couples that have established trust, they've been together for a really long time, they really trust each other, they have established trust. And then so they're kind of creating rules and agreements and establishing boundaries to maintain that trust and explore. I don't think there's a wrong way or a bad time to open up a relationship unless that relationship is in an unhealthy state. And I'm not a therapist, I'll never tell someone what to do or not to do. But I think that we have seen, and one of the things we are seeing at a cultural society level is a lot of couples failing and then wanting to open up their relationship as a last ditch effort to save marriage. And when you're opening up a relationship, you are vulnerable, you are in uncomfortable situations, you're dealing with stigma, you're dealing with emotions that you feel like you're dealing with emotions such as guilt and jealousy, and it is opening up you to so much vulnerability. And if you don't have a partner who can, be there to support that, and ultimately have that experience of opening up strengthen your relationship, then I think it's probably going to dismantle it.
Yeah.
And I've talked to so many couples. Like I've started posting on social media about 3 years ago because I just wanted to share the stories that I wish I would have had 15 years ago when we opened up. And I've spoken to so many couples that say that, we tried opening up and it didn't work for us, but it made us healthier. It made us stronger. I'm like, awesome. That's fantastic. There's no right way to be in a relationship. It matters what works for you. And there's, if you tried something new with your partner and you explored a whole bunch of different things and you decided monogamy is what works, but here's the things that you're going to do slightly different to kind of figure out how to balance the security with the desire. Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, you're right. And I think that's where we need to all, and including myself, I'm guilty as charged, of stop judging other people's relationships and what works for them, Who cares? Like unless you're harming someone,
what they do,
who the hell cares?
Their bedroom or in someone else's. Who actually cares?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if we had less judgment, then people could truly find a lifestyle. I even hate to say that because that seems like it's diminishing your experience, but a strategy for life that works for them.
That works for them.
And it's so
Do you
much
feel
more
like
beautiful.
social media has made people more judgmental or more open-minded?
I think that we are lucky in that now we have access to people like you who are willing to put themselves out there and share those stories so we actually feel less isolated. But I think the flip side of that is we're anonymous posters and trolling and being uber douchey in the comments and being more judgmental because we can do it from the comfort and safety of our home and no one's going to, punch us in the face if we say something horrible. So it's almost like, in my opinion, built up our confidence to be more judgmental because we can do it pseudo anonymously.
But also help people connect with like-minded people.
Yeah.
Who are
So pros and cons.
right?
Yeah.
Who, like someone who might be considering an open relationship but had no one to even compare it to, could find you on social media.
Yeah. I mean, do you get a lot of judgment in person or in the comments? Yeah. Right. Like, that can't be fun.
Do you feel like we, because of social media, we romanticize divorce?
Yes. 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 1,000 times. Yes.
With open relationships. Okay. Tell me more how we romanticize divorce.
Go. I was really quickly. For me, it was.
This episode was written and created by Alex Howard and Amanda Silver. Produced, edited, and engineered by RTF Productions. Make sure to rate and review our show if you loved it, and give us a follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you stream your podcast to stay up to date on all upcoming episodes. Thanks for listening, and go easy on us. We're not your ex.